Skip, I'm going to take the Suns in a very close ball game. And a lot of people believe that the pressure is on the Suns, but I still believe the pressure is on the Clippers because the Suns still have an opportunity to do something. If they don't lose, if they lose this game tonight, they still have a game 7. If the Clippers lose tonight, there is no game 7. It's over. So you know there's a heightened sense that we need to get this done. We need to somehow force this thing back to to Phoenix. And now the pressure is on the Suns because you're in your building in front of your fans and you had us down 3-1. So now all of a sudden, if we can keep this game close, don't let you go run and hide, get up by 20, 30 points. We get this game to the fourth quarter, we'll see if you can out-execute us because we trust our coach is going to put us, and Ty Lue's done a great job. Every button that he seemed to have pushed has been the right button. He's one of these guys, Skip, you see these movies and they got to push all these buttons. Like, which one, this one? Whatever button Ty Lue pushes seems to work. I love what I see him from Paul George. Paul George is taking the approach that I'm back in Indy. Paul George believes that I'm the best player on this court. Now that Kawhi Leonard is not in this series, I'm the best player. I need to show that every single game. But Skip, although he's for the most part shown that he's the best player in this series, he's always gotten contributions from at least one other person. Normally it's been Reggie Jackson. But the other night, it was Marcus Morris. Boogie Cousins came along for a ride. And if you look at it, Skip, Paul George and Reggie Jackson, they've outplayed Book and CP3. That's really the difference. If you look at it, Skip, the two games that they've won, PG and Reggie Jackson is 41 of 77, 53%, 13 of 32, 41%. 114 combined points. Well, CP3, they about outscored CP3 and Book by 31 points in 27 of 81. That's not good enough. And Bridges and Crowder only giving you 14 points in this series. DeAndre Ayton has been fabulous. So for me, Skip, I'm gonna say the Suns win a close game. I think Monty Williams. I don't think it's Monty Williams. I think it's the Clippers have the undivided attention. You can't spot a team 20-5. Can't spot a team by what they got down in the first quarter because they continuously had to dig. Those guys, the role players from the Clippers, they made Paul George's job a lot easier because they spotted him to that big lead. Paul George could relax. He didn't need to do anything crazy, get up 12, 14 shots in the first quarter, and he just relaxed, let the game come to him, and boy, did it come to him in a big way. But I'm going to take the Suns in a very, very close ball game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a game like the first two ball games, games 1, 2, and 4, come down to basically the very last possession.
Okay, I hear everything you just said, and I want to offer my condolences to you early just to set you up so that you can start to prepare yourself for what's about to hit you right between the eyes tomorrow as I sit here right here in this chair, because the Clippers are going to win tonight and they are going to win Game 7. And you are blessed. You are so fortunate we don't have a show on Saturday. Maybe we should just come in and do one. No. I might propose that to the people upstairs that we have a Saturday show, because I want to talk about the Clippers in the finals, and that's where we are getting to. Because for me, the hardest part for the Clippers is already over. The hard part was to go in Game 5 when it looked like you were down and completely out, down 3-1, and win at Phoenix. That's the hard part. And we all know the Clippers like to do it the hardest way. So they were down 0-2 to Dallas, 0-2 to Utah. Nobody had ever come back from 0-2 down in consecutive series. Now they're down 3-1. And obviously, once you get that first hurdle out of the way, now back to Ty Lue saying, oh, this is very doable.
Yeah.
Well, now, trust me, the Clippers believe it's very doable. What do the Clippers know about down 3-1? Well, they were up 3-1 in the bubble, and not everybody was there, but the bulk of this team knows what it feels like to be up 3-1 and how easily and quickly 3-1 slipped away. And even though you got up 19 points and 14 points and 12 points, you couldn't cling to it. It's hard. Once the momentum shifts, it shifts wildly to the chasing team. And right now, the Clippers are chasing the Suns. But I still say that the pressure tonight will only escalate on the Suns as the visiting team because that they know what it feels like. At least their leader knows what it feels like. He's lost a bunch of leads in his playoff career, but Chris Paul III, he knows all too well what happened in 2015 when he was a Clipper.
Right.
And they were up 3-1 on Houston, and it slowly but surely slipped away.
Right.
So he knows it's very doable because he's experienced it the wrong way.
But Skip, you said the pressure is on the Suns as the visiting team. Wouldn't the pressure be on the home team because you're playing in front of your crowd and you're supposed to win this game because you are the favorite tonight?
The momentum is with the home team. The home team has been up against it the whole playoff run. I don't think the home team feels any pressure now because they felt nothing. They've lived with pressure for so long that they've constantly dug themselves holes that looked undiggable, where you can't dig out of them. And yet, if you know the heartbeat of this team, to your point, Paul George, they know Paul George is the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
Again, there might have been a time when Chris Paul was the best player on the floor in this game, but even yesterday, you were campaigning for to get a little more run,
but Skip,
right?
think about it. They won 2 games without Chris Paul.
Okay.
They lost 2 or 3 with Chris Paul. And you look at Cam's numbers, Skip, he was 40 points, 18 assists with 1 turnover.
I do not disagree with you, but when you're trying to make the case that the guy that a lot of people were making a case for MVP, at least the MVP of this team, if not the MVP of the league,
right,
and you're telling me that his backup should get extended minutes.
Yes,
like
even if you got to play them together, Skip, you need somebody to push the pace.
Okay.
And that's what he can do, what Chris Paul doesn't do particularly well.
And that leads me back to Devin Booker. He's obviously an explosive scorer, but listen, the Clippers got an equally explosive scorer in Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And again, he hasn't gotten the shine or the buzz or the hype that Devin has, deservedly so,
Right.
but Reggie Jackson has become the closer for this team.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I don't know if people realize what's happening right before your very eyes. They're a little more effective without Kawhi. I'm not saying they're better without Kawhi because Game 4 down the stretch when they hit the ice road, that's what I call it because there's a movie on Netflix right now called Ice Road. Well, the Clippers know what the ice road feels like because they got on it down the stretch of Game 4.
Here's the thing. When Kawhi's there, Kawhi gets most shots. Then Paul George, then Reggie Jackson. So now I got to find my way. How do I do what I do without stepping on Kawhi's toes?
Okay.
Without stepping on Paul George's toes?
Now I sense harmony and chemistry.
Right.
Because they all deferred to Kawhi, but it's hard for Kawhi to lead because he's really not one of the guys.
Well, he ain't talking. He just playing.
When you don't talk, it's hard to be the leader.
It is.
And you're kind of unto yourself. And not in a terrible way. You just do what you do on your own.
Right.
Your whole plan, everything you do is unto yourself.
Right.
You kind of you follow a different schedule than the team follows.
Right.
And after a while, you look at that guy and say, well, he can't be our leader.
Right.
And can he be our closer? Well, sometimes he closes, and a lot of times he doesn't close.
And the approach is different. You look at the way Ty Lue talking in the huddle when they're down, as opposed to when they were with Doc. That's a huge difference.
Well, one coach is engaged, and the other last year in the bubble just disengaged, like folded his arms and said, "You guys do it."
Right. That's the old school way of coaching.
Okay, that's the old school way. Okay, yeah, like you guys don't get it yet. I'm going to let you see if you can figure it out.
You got yourself into this. Get yourself
out of it. So the point is that this Clippers team is different without Kawhi because they now have their roles. Paul George is the star of the show.
He's Indiana Paul. He's Indiana Paul.
He is that guy. And in overall ability, to me, he is LeBron-esque. I'm not saying he's better than LeBron because we know he's got some psychological flaws. But the point is, he's a long 6'8". He can defend. He can steal it. He can disrupt on defense just with his sheer length and his desire to play defense. And he has, as a shooter, he's a better shooter than LeBron because he's got more range than LeBron, and he's got more range than Kawhi ever had because Kawhi's an okay three-point shooter. This guy can be a big-time three-point shooter.
You know why he's like this, Skip? Because when he was in Indiana, he didn't have to defer. He was the guy.
Okay.
He get to take as many shots. He had Roy Hibbert. He had Lance Stevenson. So now he's like, basically Ty Lue said, hey, go back to being what you was in Indiana when you was taking the big three Celtics to Game 7.
He did.
I mean, the big three Heat to Game 7.
Yeah, he did definitely.
Be that guy.
Okay.
If you be that guy, the guys will follow you. We'll be just fine.
Okay, but what happened last game in the third quarter at Phoenix? Out of nowhere, Paul George saved the game after your guys took a 1-point lead at 62-61. Then he goes on this run of scoring 18 points in the rest of the third quarter. Had 20 total for the quarter. Okay, so he saved the game in the third quarter, and Reggie Jackson took it home in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Reggie Jackson has become the closer for this team. It really didn't have it. Definitely didn't have him in the bubble, and I pointed out to you several times, Reggie Jackson barely played in those three big losses when they were up 3-1 in the bubble. Doc just didn't play Reggie Jackson. Okay, well, not only are they playing on him, they're leaning on him. You do it. You take the big shots and make the big shots.
You look at the way Ty Lue coaches and you look at the way Doc is going to grow. Doc shrunk his bench. Ty Lue expanded his bench. He's giving Terrence Mann's opportunity. He's bringing guys like, well, what? You play Terrence Mann in a game 6 that you don't have Kawhi? He gives you 39.
Okay.
He put Boogie Cousins. He does Boogie Cousins out of mothballs.
Okay.
Let Boogie get 11 minutes. He gave 15 points. So where one coach was shrinking his bench, the other coach has expanded his bench.
Yep. Well, he had to because he even lost Zoo. So there's no Kawhi, no big Zoo, and they didn't have Serge
Ibaka. That's really the only other big.
Okay,
is
that's all
Boogie.
you can do. So I'm going to be the first to acknowledge up front, Paul George has got some psychological flaws in his game. He can choke in various moments. He can just come all apart. You know it. You've been all over him for that. But you know what? At heart, he's a fighter. That's what I love about it. That's his redeeming quality is he will fight. He'll fight on defense. He'll fight for loose balls. He'll fight to get to the basket when all seems lost. And this team is a bunch of fighters. And I loved his quote, and we're going to talk about, he was talking about DeMarcus Cousins. We're going to talk about DeMarcus in just a few minutes here because he's going to be the X factor tonight. But Paul George on DeMarcus yesterday said, he brings toughness. That's what this team takes pride in. We got toughness from top to bottom. As cliched as that sounds, that is the God's truth about the Clippers. They just have a backbone to them because you can't make them quit.
Right.
A lot of teams on any given playoff night, they'll just say, okay, if you want it that bad, we'll see you next day. You know, we'll see you in a couple nights. We'll go on to the game, whichever.
Right.
And this team won't stop. It'll just keep scratching and clawing. And as cliched as it is,
they're fighters.
Hey, Pat Beverly will fight you. Right? Marcus Morris will fight you. Nicholas Batum, as mild-mannered as he seems, he will fight you. Just scratch and claw you. He'll fight for loose balls and for loose rebounds.
But Skip, if you really look at it, only really Reggie Jackson is really known as really an offensive guy. All the rest of the other guys are defensive guys. Paul George is a two-way player. Pat Bev is a defensive guy. Marcus Morris Sr., he cut his teeth. He's hard-nosed, gritty. Batum, the same way. Terrence Mann, the same way. You look at these guys, basically, they got a bunch of fighters and a handful of guys sprinkled in there. Paul George, two-way player. Reggie Jackson's offensive guy. Other than that, Skip, they come to bringing lunch pails and hard hats.
Okay. Ty Lue is a fighter.
Yes.
Always an underdog.
Yep.
Chauncey Billups is a fighter. He's number 2 in charge. Obviously, he's gotten the Portland job, but he's still here with this team. And I think he is crucial to the mix of the motivation and coaching.
I agree.
And as much as I respect Monty Williams, in games like tonight and potentially Game 7, Ty Lue has the edge over Monty. You could say on experience, he's just been in more big games. But as an adjuster, as a strategist, as a motivator, as a button pusher, push just the right button at the right time, both in selecting who goes in the game and pushing the psychological button of said player, it's time for you to do this. They believe in him, so when he tells them this is going to happen, it happens. They make it happen for Ty because they love him and they trust him. Okay? So it's even slight coaching edge. So all told, I look at the roles have all fallen into place. They have a stopper, like a defensive stopper in Pat Bev. And on any given night, He can go bother Book for a while, or he can go bother CP for a while,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And they have a closer in Reggie who just gets hotter and hotter.
Right.
Again, the threes can come and go, but he can make shots at lots of ways. He can get to the basket.
He's
too.
unafraid to take the shot.
Yep, got it.
That's part of it, Skip. In those moments, you understand that. This is for an opportunity to go to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
You cannot be afraid. You cannot be in awe of the moment. Reggie Jackson said, "Oh, the clock running down. Y'all passed me the ball for a reason. I'll take it."
And speaking of bags, he's going to get a big one here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And so on motivation, he's playing for a contract.
Right.
And you've made the point, all these guys have been rejected. All these guys have been passed over. And all of a sudden, Reggie Jackson, who was once upon a time a first-round draft choice and had to play in the shadows of Durant and Westbrook.
Yeah, he was a late lottery pick.
He was, yeah. Out of Boston College, and another Sam Presti special. He said that guy can play, and he was dead right about it.
Right.
But he got lost in Detroit. He got some money to go to Detroit, but he didn't get the money.
Yeah, Skip. No, they gave him 5 years, $80 million.
Yeah,
so
but
at the time,
I mean, he's going to be in line to get
he's going to get another $80
Right.
million.
He is, because he's going to be free. I would hope the Clippers could find a way to
I
keep
don't know
him,
how.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Kawhi. I don't know if he wants to go somewhere else. He is drifting farther and farther away from the internal workings
But
of the
Skip,
team.
I think the thing is, Kawhi, it's hard to feel connected, Skip,
Yep.
when you're not there.
You know
you're
that.
Not there. You're not there every
Yep.
day, Skip. You're getting treatment on your own.
Yep.
You don't really feel a part of the team. I'm on the team, but, man, they going on about their business without me. I thought it was supposed to stop for a little
Yep.
while until I got healthy.
No, I got it. So it'll be interesting to see if he's sitting up in the box.
I believe he'll be there tonight.
I think he will. I would prefer him on the bench, but that's not his style.
Right.
Yep. So I think you've agreed with every point I've made, yet our takeaways are completely reversed, because I got Clippers winning close. You got Suns winning close.
Suns winning close. I just think that at some point in time, Book and CP3 got to put a game together. Skip, they've been outplayed basically every game that CP3 has been back. Obviously, he wasn't there the first two games, and Campaign and Book did an unbelievable job. But since the last three games, those two guys, PG and Reggie Jackson, they've outplayed them. It's as simple as Skip. There's no way around it. They've outplayed them. They shot at a higher percent from the field. They shot at a better clip, with the exception of one game. Paul George played that game Saturday, where he shot 1 from 9 from 3. Other than that, they've outplayed Chris Paul. They've lost 2 or 3 since he's been back. They got to push the pace. You can't let them set up. It's going to be very interesting to see. Ty Lue showed his hand. Okay, I'm going to go smaller lineup because Zoo's out, and I'm going to start in the zone.
Yep.
Okay, Monty, what's your counter? They start to the zone. What are you going to do different to make sure you get Ayton some opportunities? 9 shots is not enough opportunity for DeAndre Ayton. Are you guys going to just settle for 3? Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, are you going to get it going? Are you willing? Because Ty Lue is willing to push a lot of buttons. I don't know if Monty's willing to push those buttons, because Cam Johnson needs to get more playing time, because he seems to be the only guy that can consistently knock down outside shots and threes.
Okay.
So give him some run. What do you have to lose?
Okay, so you made the point. When Phoenix has asserted itself in the series, it's often because the big guy asserts himself.
Yes.
And when he says, okay, here I come, it's hard to deal with him, because he's so athletic and he's coming of age right before your very eyes, DeAndre Ayton.
Right.
And he's got stuff. He's got game. He shot that turnaround baseline jump shot. You say, wow, where did that come from? That's why DeMarcus Cousins has to play a big, big role, literally big.
Right.
And I'm going to remind everybody, he's only 30 years of age.
Right.
And once upon a time, he was a dominating center in this league. I realize Achilles injuries and various knee injuries have cost him.
Yeah.
But he's starting to resemble DeMarcus Cousins, Boogie Cousins. He's starting to.
Yeah.
And they trust him. He loves them. He's found a fit, a home with a bunch of cast-offs and rejects.
Right.
And because of that, I think you're going to see him play more than 13 minutes. It might be more 20-ish tonight.
The last time DeAndre Ayton got outplayed, he came back and put together a monster game. I expect
that
him
was
to
outplayed by Zubac.
Zubac. I expect him. You cannot let Nicholas Batum, you cannot let Marcus Smart Sr. play a 7-foot athletic guy
That's what
like
they
this
did.
behind. You can't do it.
They outplayed him. They outworked him and out-hustled him.
Yes.
Yep.
So I expect him to come back. I expect Book and CP3 to play a lot better, and it's going to be a very close ball game. But I'm going to take them to win this ball game.
Okay. point differential in the series. The Clippers are up by 17 overall points.
Right.
The Clippers are just a little better than the Suns, which is why they are going to win a close game tonight. And I think you agree with me because every reason that I just gave you, you couldn't refute. So I've got all the yeses, you have all the nos, but you're still hanging in with Phoenix.
I got to know because that's what you choose to believe. But we got 3 cases on it, so we just go see what happens. 3 cases for a point, I'm good.
There's no point.
There's a point. That's what the Fox bet said.
It's a pick 'em now. It's just a pick 'em. We're just going straight up. Straight up. It's okay. And it's for 5 cases now.
No, ain't no 5. Hold on. How you add 2 cases? So, like you tell me, can you go to and negotiate with the betting house? I want to bet this.
Well, I just proposed it.
No.
You can accept it or not.
We got 3.
You can show me the courage of your prediction.
We have 3, Skip.
Okay, well, I'll take 5 anytime you want it.
No.
That's
you don't
how
want it?
confident I am.
This is what I would do you. I tell you what, I'll give you 5 if you're willing to give me 10 on a game 7.
10 what?
Cases.
10 cases?
Yeah. I'll give you 5 tonight if you give me 10 on a game 7.
Let me think about that.
Okay. Not what I
I'm
thought.
really thinking there for a second. Okay, so
I'll think about it. I just
5
might do
to
it.
10, that's the discussion. We've been putting a lot of bets, placing a lot of bets around here.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.